Hey guys, it's Dana, and let's talk about the coronavirus and your money and my apocalypse dream. All right, so let's get to it. Okay, so the coronavirus is all over the news. We're getting letters from the school district. My work is talking about it. Everywhere you go, people are talking about it. And it's not something that I'm taking lightly at all. I definitely think it's serious and it's spreading into the United States. However, I'm trying not to panic and freak out. I remember back in, I think, 2014 when the Ebola virus was spreading, and that was a big deal. And oh my gosh, we're all gonna die, and we didn't. But it's serious, but I'm also trying not to freak out. Like I said, I'm trying to live my life. And however, I had a dream last night about zombie apocalypse. It was a very vivid dream. I don't usually have those kinds of dreams. I avoid scary movies and it was, in the dream, we were trying to find a cure, and then we found a cure. We did find a cure, but then this morning when I woke up at 5 a.m., like I usually do, to go out and jog, I was actually scared to leave the house, and had to psych myself up to leave the house to tell myself that I was not going to be attacked by the coronavirus super germ while I was out jogging my neighborhood, where literally I see pretty much nobody at that hour, and the moon was out, so I was afraid to leave the house. And so because in the news, they're obviously sharing a lot of information about how to, keep yourself safe, how to, you should wash your hands for 20 seconds, wash your hands as often as possible, don't touch your face. They're also saying to, use hand sanitizer and try to self-quarantine yourself if you've been out of the country or you think you've been exposed to somebody who's been out of the country who might, have been infected, right? So that self-quarantine is the piece that I kind of was thinking about. If you had to self-quarantine for 14 days for the coronavirus or for some other kind of virus that was out there, and you couldn't get out of your house to go to work, if you were not able to work remotely, luckily, fortunately I'm able to, but if you're not able to do that, then you might not be able to make a paycheck. And a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. So if you can't get out of your house or you're stuck on a cruise ship, like those poor people off the coast of California who've been stuck on a cruise ship because they were exposed to the coronavirus, you can't go to work. And then you might not be getting paid because of it, and you might have tons of payments because you have debt. And so when these kind of things come up, it just makes me think, how can I use this experience how can I learn from it, and how can I best prepare in case the situation gets worse or there's a repeat situation or I'm somehow personally exposed in the future? Am I prepared? And if I'm not, what do I have to do to get there, right? So if you're not prepared right now and you have debt and you have a ton of payments, then now's the time to really think about what you can do to get out of debt and to have an emergency fund. Because how much different would a self-quarantine period for you and your family be if you had no payments, you had a good emergency fund set aside, and maybe you had prepared, I'm into the prepper community, somewhat. If you had water stored up and Clorox wipes and, how much different would that be for you, that experience, versus if you had not prepared, you had tons of debt, and they expect their payments, whether you're in a self-quarantine period or not. They want their payments. When you have tons of debt and no emergency fund, it might be very difficult to do a 14-day self-quarantine period. One thing that's super scary with these kinds of outbreaks for a lot of people is the idea of if you were to need to be hospitalized, what would that mean as far as how much you would owe? So the financial impact, obviously, if you're sick and you need to be hospitalized, then you are fighting for your life, and that really should be the focus. But a lot of people, they think about how much money they're going to owe if they recover, hopefully, and get home. But at least with medical debt, usually there is no interest. And if you call that healthcare provider and you're respectful and kind, they almost always will give you some kind of payment plan in perpetuation, or, if you can only afford, you just tell them. A lot of times back in the day when I had medical debt, I called and I said, this is what I can afford per month. And the hospital said, okay, just send us that amount per month. And that's what I did. So at least usually you can call and work out a deal with them, and there's no interest on your outstanding balance. It's, and so you can pay it in payments. We don't want payments. You want to get out of your life. Obviously, we don't want to have that, but don't let the fear of that bill keep you from going to the hospital if you need to go to the hospital, right? You want to go get the care that you need. They're not going to turn you away just because you don't have insurance or you have bad insurance, all right? So you still want to go, and then, like I said, you can work out a payment plan with them after the fact, and then hopefully there will be an after the fact, right? All right, so don't let that hold you back. But I think sometimes that's part of the fear with this kind of stuff spreading, is that people don't go to the doctor or they don't go to the hospital. They just think, oh, I don't want to go because I don't want to pay the money. Or, I need to go to work even though I'm not feeling so good because I need the money. I got to go to work. And then you're essentially spreading it to other people. So that's what I mean by try to be thoughtful of others. So you might recover, but you might have transferred it to your 80-year-old coworker or 70-year-old coworker who may not recover. So we have to all try to be aware of that. Now, I expect the number of cases to continue to rise. I read some article by a physician that said that the tests for this have just recently been released. They had a whole bunch of tests released in the United States. And so most likely, obviously, the number of confirmed cases is going to rise because there probably have been cases of it, but those individuals have, recovered and they weren't tested, so it wasn't confirmed. We don't even know if they had it. But now that the test is more available and more people are being tested, then the number of cases is naturally going to rise. So, like I said, it's serious, and it's something that we should be careful with. If you're able to work remotely, and you can, if you want to avoid large events that are over 1,000 people. I heard the South by Southwest conference was canceled. Maybe that's not a bad idea, but not to completely freak out. And we still have to live our lives. Just try to be mindful of what's going on and do your best to wash. Tell your kids to wash. And I'm so grateful that it seems so far that this is not really impacting children. It's mostly impacting older adults, over 60 plus, or people who have some kind of compromised immune system or respiratory illness, because this is a respiratory disease. So it's luckily so far not really impacting children. However, tell your kids to wash. I know our schools are taking extra precautions to sterilize and disinfect as much as they can, the bathrooms, classrooms, and eating all the surfaces. But tell your kids, hey, wash your hands. And we had a big conversation with our kids, not to scare them, but said, just again, reiterating how important it is to use a hand sanitizer when you come in from recess before you eat your lunch. And we talked about that, really want them to do that. And Curious George has a really excellent episode that we've seen on PBS Kids. If you have PBS Kids, you might want to look for it, about George being sick, or the man with the yellow hat is sick. And George goes into the body and they show the germs. And so we say, oh, remember Curious George? The germ was on, the green, cartoon character was on the finger, and then if it gets near your face, and that germ's going to jump from your finger and go in your nose and into your body. So make sure you don't touch your face. And so that episode, if you have young kids, is really good, I think, to help them to visualize and understand germs on your hands and surfaces, and how if you touch a doorknob, it gets on your finger, and then if you put your finger in your mouth, it's going to come into your body and make you sick. So just have those conversations, really, is all we can do to try to help to, prevent it spreading as much as we can, as human beings. And if, you've been sick, or if you've traveled, just make sure that you're, being compassionate towards others and not going out. And but financially, which is what my channel is about, because I am not a medical professional, I work in finance, and the economy is obviously, taking a hit, but Like Dave Ramsey says, the only people who get hurt on a roller coaster are the people who jump off. So try not to freak out about that either. Let's try to just ride it out, ride it through. And then think about what you can do to prepare if you were to not be able to go out to work and what that means for you and your family. And maybe, right now it might be hard to prepare for that, but obviously this is something that's going to repeat itself in the future, these kinds of events, these health scares. So try to do what you can now to prepare for future events and use this as a learning opportunity to do what you can. So that way you'll be in a better position next time and you won't have to stress out about it. Because like I said, if you're home, if you're self-quarantined or you're, being mandated to be quarantined, it'll be a lot different if you have no payments and an emergency fund versus if you have tons of payments that are due and you can't get out to work, you're not making any money, and you have no emergency fund, okay? So especially this day and age, you could potentially have things delivered to you. You just order it online if you're home, and food and everything could be delivered to your door, and you go out and grab it, but you have to have money to do that, right? So, all right. I think I've said it enough. You understand? So let's all try to practice good hand washing, try to stay calm, and I'm hoping all of you stay healthy, your family stays healthy, and that they find some way to help with immunization. I know they're working on that, but it could be a year and a half for this. And okay. All right. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe. I'm here every single week talking all about money. And we're a family of 6 and we live in the Philadelphia area. Okay. All right, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.